Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a beautiful day, and this is going to be a beautiful program that I hope is going to give each of you some new insights into an amazing new form of cancer treatment called immunotherapy. Some of you in the room have already been treated with immunotherapy. Others may be considering being treated with immunotherapy. And of course, it's our pleasure to introduce you to the experts in the field who have been working in the trenches, treating patients with this powerful new class of treatments. There have been many approvals in just the last 5 years here in the United States of immunotherapies for a broad variety of cancers. So it's really exciting to be here at this time. I am with the organization, with the Cancer Research Institute for almost 20 years. My name is Brian Brewer. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. And in that time, it's been tremendous to see the advances that have been made, and I'm very proud to be part of an organization that has made this field what it is today. The Cancer Research Institute was founded in 1953 and has since that time been devoted to this field of cancer research. So we're very excited, and it's especially exciting to be here with all of you because now immunotherapy is available to you. Before we get too far into the program, I'd like to welcome you all here. I'd also like to acknowledge that today's Summit Series is being broadcast via live stream and Facebook Live. And so if you're watching via those channels, and we have people registered from upwards of 43 countries around the world watching right now, so no pressure. We are accepting questions, and Alice Northover from Cancer Research Institute will be fielding those. So if at any point those of you watching have a question, please feel free to use that Q&A feature. Right now I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, without whose generous support today's Immunotherapy Patient Summit would not be possible. This includes Bristol Myers Squibb, Merck, GSK, AstraZeneca, Genentech, Novartis, and Regeneron. In addition, we've had some significant community support from advocacy organizations and other nonprofits who are helping to get the word out to their communities. Something that's interesting about the Cancer Research Institute, and our CEO, Dr. Jill O'Donnell Tarmey, will tell you a little bit more about this in just a moment. Our focus has always been on research, and entering into the patient space is new for us because that's where the science now has taken us. And so we really rely on the support of organizations like these who have developed strong relationships within specific cancer patient communities to help make them aware that we offer this program. So I'll just walk through some of the program today before we get started. First, I'd like to say we're joined by a very fantastic panel of experts. Lena Gandhi from NYU Perlmutter Cancer Center, Dr. Michael Postow from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, Dr. Robert von der Heide from UPenn Abramson Cancer Center, and Dr. Dimitri Zamarin from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. So we've got a good representation of New York City organizations in there, but it's nice to have Dr. von der Heide from UPenn here as well. Also with us, we will have a panel discussion in the second half of the program where we will hear from patients who have been treated with immunotherapy in a clinical trial, and they're going to share their stories, and that includes Janie Furling, who was diagnosed with melanoma, Kristen Kleinhofer with leukemia, Philip Pritchard with kidney cancer, and Johanna Sedman, who herself was not diagnosed with prostate cancer, as you can imagine, but her husband was, and she's here today to represent the perspective of the caregiver, which, as we all know, is essential to the care and treatment of anyone with cancer. The schedule of events is in your program, which was included in your bag, but I'd like to just point out that we'll hear first from Dr. Jill O'Donnell Tarmey, followed by our expert panel. We'll get a basic immunology 101 from Dr. Lena Gandhi, who will walk us through some of the basic concepts of the science behind these new treatments, and that will be followed up with a panel discussion from our experts, each of whom has a specialty in particular types of cancer, and they'll delve a little deeper into the latest advances that they're seeing in those areas. Then we'll hear from Janie Furling, who will share her personal story of diagnosis and treatment for melanoma. Following that, we'll have a lunch and networking session. Then we will come back at 1 o'clock for our Demystifying Clinical Trials session, where I will walk through some of the basic concepts of what a clinical trial is and why we do them and why they're important, as well as why you should consider enrolling in one if that's appropriate for your treatment plan. And then we'll bring up the patient panelists. I like to call them patient experts too, because they're the ones who know the most about what their experience is. Then after a refreshment break, we will have a breakout session. When you registered for the summit today, you had an opportunity to select one of several breakouts, one focused on breast and pancreatic cancer, one on melanoma, one on gynecologic cancers, and then we have a general immunotherapy category, which will, I think, be in this room, where you'll have an opportunity not specifically to talk about your particular treatment history or your plan for treatment, but more to delve into the concepts that you will be introduced to today and have an opportunity to share any follow-up questions. Also, if you registered to meet with one of our clinical trial navigators, they are outside. It's important that you remember what time your appointment is, and it would be great if you could show up just outside these doors upwards of 5 minutes before your appointment so that we can make sure that everyone who's registered has had an opportunity to be seen. Then we'll close the program at 3:15 and send everyone on your way, hopefully armed with a lot more knowledge that will empower you to engage in discussions with your physicians about your immunotherapy trial options. And with that now, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Jill O'Donnell Tormey, who's the CEO and Director of Scientific Affairs at the Cancer Research Institute.
Well, thanks very much, Brian, and welcome, and it's great to see a full room, and I'm hoping you're going to really learn a lot today. So it's really my pleasure to introduce you to the Cancer Research Institute. Since 1953, we had a singular mission dedicated to research on the immune system and how it interacts with cancer, with an ultimate goal of developing effective treatments for all cancers that utilize your own immune system. We are a public charity that has always relied on the generosity of individuals, foundations, and corporations to support our work. We are not endowed, and we raise our operating budget each year from philanthropic sources, and we receive no government funding. We are very proud of our pedigree, being very conscious of how we use donor contributions, with 15% of our annual operating expenses historically going to fundraising and administration. Because of our transparency, efficiency, and effectiveness, we garnered the highest marks by charity watchdog organizations. While much of the 60-plus years of CRI's existence we were dedicated to basic research, it is gratifying to see the discoveries we supported providing the foundation for today's effective cancer immunotherapies. In the past 7 years, the FDA has approved 15 different immunotherapies in 13 different tumor types, as well as the first approval of an immunotherapy based not on a tumor type, but rather on a tumor's biomarker, which is actually MSI high or microsatellite instability high, which is basically without regard to where the tissue or where the cancer originated in, but rather if it has this biomarker. So we now have proof of principle that the immune system can be mobilized as a treatment for cancer. But more research is needed in order to maximize the effectiveness of immunotherapies for more cancer patients. This will require commitment to both laboratory and clinical research and a crosstalk between the two. But we are at a place and time that we have never been before in the field of cancer immunotherapy. We now have significant number of patients who are responding remarkably well and in a durable fashion to immunotherapies. But unfortunately, there are also a significant number of patients who are not responding. This, however, gives researchers an amazing opportunity to now interrogate that precious tissue and blood samples from these patients and ask why the responders respond and why the non-responders don't. Now, this understanding at a cellular and molecular level will be what propels the field forward as more focus is placed on personalized combination therapies and how to determine which patients should get which therapy. Now, when we look back at the history of the field and the history of the Cancer Research Institute, it all started with patients. In the 1890s, Dr. William B. Coley, who was a surgeon here in New York City, noticed that occasionally some cancer patients went into remission after they contracted acute bacterial infections. He went on to create a mixture of bacteria called Coley's toxin, which he injected into inoperable sarcoma of his patient, Mr. Zola, who then underwent a complete remission. Now, although Coley did not understand the underlying mechanisms of how the toxin worked, his daughter, who after his death believed the medical community had prematurely abandoned the toxins as a cancer therapy, and she founded the Cancer Research Institute. And CRIs initially focused on Coley's toxins and the link between bacteria and cancer remission, and in so doing spawned the field of cancer immunology. We now know that the bacteria in Coley's toxins attracted the immune system to the tumor site into which it was injected, and Coley is now known as the father of cancer immunotherapy. Now, in 2017, we have a much better understanding of how the immune system works, how it interacts with cancers, and how cancers have suppressive mechanisms to turn off the immune system and evade immunological destruction. We have new and exciting technologies, and we are learning how to overcome this suppression and also to enhance the immune cell activity against cancer. And patients, again, are critical to this research process. To reach CRI's mission to save more lives by fueling the discovery and development of powerful immunotherapies for all types of cancers, we need to rely on both the patient and the laboratory and the brain trust of scientists and clinicians around the world whom we support. In the past few years, as more and more patients were being treated with immunotherapy, CRI saw a need to become more patient-facing. With our pedigree and expertise, we could become a trusted source of information about cancer immunotherapies for newly diagnosed cancer patients and their caregivers or those undergoing treatment. We now provide this information on our website, which is www.cancerresearch.org, and we have begun to create an immunocommunity among patients. Today's meeting is an extension of those efforts. One of the main things we hope you leave today with is a sense of empowerment and how to better advocate for yourself and your loved ones. I truly believe that the information and knowledge imparted today will go a very long way to give you confidence to explore with your physicians whether immunotherapies are an option for you and your treatment plan. So I'm really, really pleased to have you all here, and please reach out to us and ask questions, and I hope you learn a lot today. So thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.